Fuse is a new game from Insomniac, and you may notice that it resembles Overstrike, which was announced at E3 2011. Well, you're really smart, because they're the same game. Actually, but not really the same game. You know what? Let's just have Ted Price on. He'll talk about it. Overstrike debuted at E3 2011 and promptly disappeared. Now it's back with a new look and a new name. This is Fuse, a co-op-oriented shooter that puts your diverse four-person strike team and its devastating arsenal against futuristic threats. Joining me now is the president and CEO of Insomniac Games and our favorite hair model on X-Play, Mr. Ted Price, everybody, is with us today.
Thanks, Blair.
Thank you for having me have this conversation here. So, Ted, what we're looking at today, the first and, frankly, even the last time we saw Overstrike, vastly different in tone and the look of the game and what we're seeing now in Fuse. What prompted that change?
We wanted to do a couple things. First, we wanted to really pull story and gameplay together and make sure that the game's identity was driven by one thing, and that thing is Fuse, which is this volatile alien substance which you find in the game. But by making the game revolve around this alien substance, both in story and gameplay, we believe it has a much stronger identity than what we started with.
I imagine that EA had to have something to say, because they are publishing the game, and they said, hey, does this make more sense? And how did that work? How did that process work?
Well, with every intellectual property that we create, we go through a lot of changes. And sometimes it's not apparent to people outside of the development process because we're pretty tight-lipped about what happens.
Sure.
But that's just part of the natural process of creating new content. And with Fuse, our goal was to create a fantastic four-player cooperative game. And at the heart of that game, though, are killer weapons. Weapons that we believe do things that no other game has. But when we switched to this new, this changed identity, we were able to free ourselves to do even bigger and more badass stuff with the weapons. Really free ourselves to go over the top with them.
One of the things that really stood out to us here at X-Play is it is a cooperative experience, but you've found a way to make every single character incredibly different. And if you are playing by yourself, the fact that you can shift through characters, the gameplay style is different, even if you are playing on single player. So just kind of walk us through what that's about.
Well, the big focus for us is having 4 unique characters with unique stories and with unique skill sets. In most cooperative games, you play very similar characters, but in Fuse, that is not the case at all. Each character has a specialty in terms of his or her weapons that he or he uses. They use unique Fuse weapons, each of which has multiple characteristics, and each of which has a separate progression path that you can take throughout the game. One of the things that we discovered early on was that if you get locked into a particular character, like you can in some games, it can be a little frustrating. You want to be able to experience everything in the game. So we introduced a feature called Leap, which allows you to switch back and forth at will between each of the characters. Now, from a combat perspective and a strategy perspective, this is really useful because we set up all sorts of different scenarios in the games for players. And we expect players to recognize a particular situation where Naya might be better because she's got this stealth ability and she can flank. Or Dalton might be better because he's the group's tank and he can actually traverse places that don't have a whole lot of cover and protect himself in the group. So these kind of opportunities exist throughout the game, and it encourages players to try out the different skill sets. Because each of these characters does have a very complex skill tree with unique abilities for each character, there are a lot of different paths you can take in terms of how you apply these Fuse points you earn in the game to each of these characters.
Awesome, and let's talk about the characters from a story perspective. You said Dalton's a tank. I assume he's surly, doesn't have a lot to say, but he's good at headbutting. What about the other characters? What are their personalities like? How do they fit into the overall story?
Well, one thing I want to mention is that there is still a lot of humor in this game. I know that was a concern that people had when we shifted our identity.
The look, right. I mean, people look at the look and they say, well, this is going to be far more serious.
Yeah, but we are wedded to the idea that humor should exist in games. And I think the humor in Fuse is a little bit more sophisticated than the more campy approach that we had in our previous incarnation of the game, but it is there nonetheless. And all of our characters have that ability to express themselves in a humorous way, but it's a little different.
We've been talking about the characters and their weapons, but you also have these huge, explosions and set pieces. Talk to me about the mech battle that we have here that we're showing on the show.
Well, what we're fighting is the Enforcer, and this is one of the larger enemies in the game. We have a lot of big enemies that encourage players to work together. And what's cool about the weapons and the characters' abilities is that they all work together strategically. you can get into situations where it's really appropriate to have Dalton shielding the other players while they're using their various abilities against a large enemy like this. But the Enforcer has an attack in particular that also encourages what we call lethal teamwork, in that he will wrap up players and you have to rescue your buddy or the team wipes. And this really does encourage communication and, of course, teamwork.
All right. Well, look, a lot of times when, games, the names of games change all the time. That's one thing. The look and the tone of the game, typically when you see something like that, you think, oh my gosh, there's a lot of publisher oversight. The creatives must have been really upset about this. But you seem like you and your team are very proud of what you have here, and you're very happy with the product that you guys have created.
Well, this is our call. I mean, making the ship was Insomniac's call, and we did this, I think, for a lot of reasons. And most of what I want to get across is that the creative process at all points is a fluid process.
Sure.
And you do what's best for the game. And when we look at our games every day, we say, how can we deliver the best possible experience to our players, to our fans? And what do we want to play? And I think that, in particular, moving this direction really allowed us to have fun internally in terms of just going crazy with the weapons. Now, personally, my favorite aspect of working on this game has been working with the weapons team, where we've been able to just go crazy and just figure out some cool stuff that we weren't really able to do in the previous incarnation of the game.
Well, now that we've seen it, I know people are really excited about it. When are they going to play this game?
March 2013.
March 2013. That sounds awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. Big round of applause for Ted. But he's not going anywhere, you guys. Ted has been in our green room practicing Mario a lot, because he's going to take the X-Play challenge.
Really
it's pretty high. It's pretty high. You make games. You should be really good at Mario. Now, Ted Price runs Insomniac Games, which is the studio responsible for Ratchet & Clank, Resistance, and the upcoming Fuse.
But can he handle some real pressure? We're going to find out in the X-Play challenge.
All right, Mr. Price, here is how the X-Play challenge works. You have to play the original Super Mario Bros. World 1-1, run the level as fast as you can. We know you know secrets because you're a developer. No warp pipes.
We're going to
fast as you can, no warp pipes.
Exactly. We're going to place your time on our leaderboard. You've got to beat 33.1 seconds if you want the top spot. So you're ready?
Ready.
All right.
Ted Price, everybody. Big round of applause. Let's get it started. It's using the B button already. It's a bold move.
Oh, crap. That was empty.
Here it is, here it is. Here it is. Oh, nice!
Oh, no.
It's okay, it's okay. You got that B button power right now, Ted.
Yeah, I didn't want...
Oh, Ted, you were crushing it! Ted Price! Ted Price!
There we go. All right. That was a good run. I'm sweating.
Come on over here.
All right.
We've got some really, really good news for you right now.
23.6, which is
Just murder.
And this is the new time to beat. You beat him by 10 seconds.
That is just ridiculous. I'm not going to tell people how to live their lives, but if I were Thomas Jane and Todd Stashwick, I would stop living. Because this is embarrassing, guys. Ted, awesome job, my friend. Awesome job. Big round of applause for Ted, everybody. Woo! Fuse is going to be awesome.
X-Play, weeknights at 6:30, only on G4.